When most of us think about love, we imagine it happening close to home, maybe between classmates who sat next to each other in high school, or co-workers who slowly went from sharing coffee breaks to sharing secrets, or even childhood friends who one day realize their bond has quietly grown into something deeper. But love doesn't always follow those familiar paths. Sometimes it laughs at distance and ignores borders. Sometimes it stretches across whole continents, weaving together people who never thought their lives would overlap. And that's where this surprising story begins, with Russian women and Filipino men, and the unexpected, heartwarming connections they've been building. I'm an American in my 20s, and when I first stumbled across this trend, I was fascinated. Why, I wondered, would Russian women, women often seen as tall, proud, and rooted in one of the world's largest nations, feel drawn to Filipino men who come from a small island nation thousands of miles away? It felt unlikely, almost like the setup for a romantic movie. But as I dug deeper, I realized the answer wasn't about geography or appearances at all. It was about something much more powerful: values, kindness, and the type of love that doesn't measure itself in money or status. Online beginnings. For many of these women, the journey begins in the simplest of places: online. Dating platforms, social media, and international friendship groups have quietly become bridges. A woman sitting in Moscow, sipping tea by her window, can now, with a few clicks, be talking to a man in Davao who just came home from a family dinner. Take Irina, for example. She's 27, from Vladivostok, and for a long time she had almost given up on love. Her past relationships felt cold, distant, like two people standing side by side but never truly meeting. One night, feeling restless, she joined an international friendship group on Facebook. That's where she noticed Arnel, a cheerful Filipino man, posting photos of his big family reunion. His smile caught her attention first. It wasn't flashy or posed, it was warm, the kind of smile that seems to carry sunlight. On impulse, she left a small comment. "Your family looks so happy," Arnel replied, just as simply. But that one exchange grew into a conversation. The conversation turned into daily chats. Soon, those chats became hours-long video calls, sometimes stretching late into the night. Irina told me later, "I never thought love could start with a comment." But with Arnel, it did. And that's how so many of these stories unfold, not with dramatic declarations or sweeping gestures, but with little acts of kindness and curiosity. One person taking a moment to notice another. Meeting in person. Of course, not all relationships remain trapped behind glowing screens. For some, the call of adventure pulls them into the real world. Many Russian women, raised in the snow and long winters of the north, are curious travelers at heart. And sometimes their journeys take them far beyond sightseeing or relaxation. Sometimes they stumble into love itself. The Philippines has quietly become a destination where these unexpected stories unfold. It's known for its beaches, yes, turquoise waters lapping against white sand, palm trees swaying lazily in the warm breeze. But for certain women, it's not the scenery that leaves the deepest impression. It's the people, the laughter in the markets, the generosity of strangers, the men who carry themselves with a natural kindness that feels rare in a fast, competitive world. Take Svetlana. She was 32, from Moscow, and had just walked away from a painful breakup. The city that once thrilled her now felt heavy, the endless snow reminding her too much of her loneliness. One night, she booked a flight to Cebu. Her goal wasn't love, it was escape. She wanted sun on her face, salty air in her lungs, and enough quiet to let her heart breathe again. On her second day, she wandered near a church, pausing at a sign written in English. She squinted, struggling with the words, when a voice beside her gently asked, "Do you want help?" It was Mark, a Filipino man passing by. What began as a short explanation turned into laughter, then an invitation for coffee, and then a dinner neither of them wanted to end. Looking back, Svetlana said, I came to the Philippines to heal, but instead I found someone who made me believe in love again. Her story is far from unique. Many Russian women who visit the Philippines describe the same sensation, that beyond the breathtaking islands lies something even more powerful: the warmth of its people, especially its men. For them, it feels like stepping into another world, one where kindness isn't rare and where love feels simple, natural, and real. Through work and study, travel isn't the only way these paths cross. Another, quieter thread connects Russian women and Filipino men work and study abroad. Filipinos are known around the world as tireless workers, always present wherever care, skill, and dedication are needed. Nurses, engineers, teachers, seafarers, IT specialists, their presence can be felt in hospitals, universities, ships, and offices across the globe. And wherever they go, they carry with them not just their work ethic, but also their laughter, their humility, and their deep loyalty to family. Olga's story shows this perfectly. She was 25 when she left Russia to work as a nurse in Dubai. At first, everything felt overwhelming: the heat, the pace, the constant rush of patients. But over time, one of her colleagues stood out to her. His name was Carlo, a Filipino nurse. At first, they were just co-workers exchanging polite greetings during long shifts. But then Olga began to notice the small things: the way he bent down to talk softly with elderly patients, the way he never bragged about himself but always asked about others, the way he sent money back home each month, speaking with pride about his family in the Philippines. In a world where so many men try to impress by showing off, Olga told me, Carlo was different. He stood out because of his humility, and that's when I realized he was special. That difference between Olga and Carlo, his humility and her recognition of it, blossomed into something more. What started as a friendship grew, little by little, into love. Today, the two of them are building a life side by side, proof that sometimes love doesn't need an online profile or even a plane ticket. Sometimes it just needs two people crossing paths at the right moment, in the right place, with open hearts. Language and connection. One of the most beautiful and honestly touching things about these relationships is the effort both sides make to truly understand one another. Language, after all, isn't just about words. It's about connection. It's about saying, I want to meet you halfway. Many Russian women begin learning English or even Tagalog, not out of necessity but out of love, because they want to dive deeper into conversations, into feelings, into the quiet little moments that only language can unlock. And the effort isn't one-sided. Many Filipinos, already skilled in English, go the extra step to understand Russian traditions, Russian holidays, even trying to pronounce a few Russian words with clumsy but heartfelt determination. Take Tatiana, a Russian artist. She once joined an online language exchange group simply to practice English. That's where she met Joel, a single man from Davao. At first, their exchanges were purely academic, trading grammar corrections, vocabulary notes, little jokes about mispronunciations. But soon, the lessons shifted into something more. Joel didn't just ask about verbs or idioms. He asked about her dreams, about her family, about her fears. Russian men don't ask about your soul, Tatiana said, but Joel cared. 2 years later, she packed her life into a few suitcases and moved to the Philippines. She married Joel in a small church, surrounded by his enormous, lively family. She often tells her friends back home, if you want to find true love, don't look at a man's wallet. Look at his heart. And sometimes that heart might be waiting for you in the Philippines. Why Filipino single men? So why do Russian women seek out Filipino men in particular? The answers aren't flashy or complicated. They're deeply human. First, it's the warmth. Filipino men smile, they laugh, they tease in gentle ways and comfort in serious ones. For women who have known emotional distance, this openness feels like sunlight after a long winter. Second, it's family. In the Philippines, family isn't just important, it's everything. A Filipino man doesn't only marry a woman, he welcomes her into his family and in return, he becomes part of hers. For Russian women, who also treasure family but sometimes struggle with fractured relationships at home, this sense of belonging feels priceless. Then there's loyalty. Raised in cultures that value respect, faithfulness, and commitment, many Filipino men carry those principles into their relationships. For Russian women who have known betrayal or indifference, this steadfastness is like water to a thirsty heart. And finally, resilience. Life in the Philippines isn't always easy, but through hardship, Filipino men are known for their ability to keep smiling, to stay hopeful, to laugh even when life is heavy. For Russian women, strong, resilient themselves, this shared strength creates the perfect match. The children they dream. One of the most moving parts of these love stories is the way Russian women talk about children, not in terms of material comfort, but in terms of love. They dream of raising kids in homes filled with laughter, with music, with the smell of home-cooked meals. They imagine fathers who come home after work not to retreat into silence, but to scoop up their children, to play, to teach, to be present. Natalia, a 30-year-old teacher from Russia, once said, "I don't care if we live in a mansion or a tiny house. If my child grows up with a father who is kind, loving, and there for them, that's all I need." A love story for our times. When I step back and look at all these stories, Irina and Arnel, Svetlana and Mark, Olga and Carlo, Tatiana and Joel, I feel something powerful. In a world where so many have grown cynical about love, where dating apps can make relationships feel disposable, these couples remind us of something different. Here we see thousands of Russian women finding hope, joy, and connection with Filipino men. It's not about wealth. It's not about social status. It's about the things that matter most: kindness, respect, loyalty, family. And if you are Filipino and you're listening to this right now, I want you to know something. You are admired. Across oceans and borders, women see your strength, your humor, your devotion, and many dream of building a life with you. And to the Russian women searching, I say, you are not alone. The love you long for may not be in the streets of Moscow or St. Petersburg. It might be waiting for you under the Philippine sun, a love that feels both brand new and timeless. Because love doesn't always follow a map. Sometimes it draws its own invisible lines, from Moscow to Manila, from Vladivostok to Cebu, from one heart to another. And when it does, it reminds us all that love is stronger than distance, stronger than culture, stronger than fear. This is how Russian women are finding Filipino men. This is how love is rewriting borders. And this is why, no matter where you come from, you should never, ever stop believing in it.